Hi, welcome to episode 12 of YarnAdelaide Knits. How you going? I'm Nicole. I'm coming to you from, where are we? We're in South Australia, just northeast suburbs of Adelaide, on this cold, not as wet, wintry day. Just trying to think off the cuff. What to say. This is a mostly knitting podcast. I think everything today is all knitting and yarn. Thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate people stopping by and finding the time to watch my podcast, and and joining in the conversation on Ravelry. You can find me on Instagram as ColarGirl74. I'm ColarGirl on Ravelry, and there's a Ravelry group called YarnAdelaide Knits podcast group. So yeah, joining the group there, and today I'm finally drawing the Winter is Coming KAL. So yeah, there's prizes to be had. And what else do I have to do? I think that's about it with what's going on. Excuse me, I'm still recovering from a cold that I had 2 weeks ago, but that's still chesty and still trying to get rid of it all. The cough, and because it goes through the family, doesn't it? So yeah, what else do I have to tell you? I love it when I do these podcasts and I write, or got all show notes down in front of me. I've got everything laid out that I want to show you in front of me, and yet I can't think, now that the camera is got the red light on and says it's recording, think of what I'm supposed to say. Which I'm sure many of you are like that. Today we're in my dining room. It's too cold to do it outside, and the boys are it's school holidays here in Adelaide. Scarlett's asleep, and Silas and Elijah are in their rooms watching TV or on their computers. We've been to the local Westfield this morning playing Pokemon Go mostly, and I had to pick up a few bits and pieces. Our stick blender packed up on us again during the week, so it was time to buy a new one, and my husband threw out our electric blanket for our bed last year after winter, and I've put up with it for the last few weeks of it being so darn cold, and no, I'm getting a new one today. So anyway, bit of digression there. So what we have today, I have some finished objects. I've got a couple of finished objects to show you. I've got a few whips and a few whips that I've started. I've got an update for Take Charge of Your Stash that I've been talking to you guys about, which is a piggyback off the Little Yellow Ute podcast from Zena. And I've got an update for my Stash as well. Got a couple of acquisitions and some guild news and the prize draw. I think that's all I've got to tell you. I know as soon as I finish recording I'll remember something, and I usually try and stop and write it down for next time. Oh, that's what I've got to tell you about as well. I've got a review that I mentioned last podcast about the Nirvana needles. I don't think you can see that very well, which were the mango needles. I don't think that's really coming up with the light. There we go. I got a review thing that I've been knitting some socks with them. So and I have a hoe too, so a half object. So let's get into finished objects with me. I have a finished pair of socks, which I finally, all I had to do was Kitchener stitch one of the toes, and they've been sitting there. I tried to get these finished for the Fancy Feet KAL from the Grocery Girls, and it didn't happen by the close off date. So I chucked it in the naughty corner and sulked with it for a few weeks and finally got it finished during the week. So I had something to show you as a finished object. These are knit in Kathy's Fibres, her merino superwash nylon mix. The colour is, what's the colour called? The colour is called, I've forgotten, Melandra, I think it's called. I used 2.25 high sharps, which I bought high sharps because people were raving, and I waited for months for them to come in because they were supposed to be really nice and sharp. And I usually use my Knit Picks Knit Pro Symphonies. I like the flexibility of the wood. There's just that little bit of give. And yeah, I thought, well, no, I keep hearing about all these different needles that people like to use, and I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't corner myself into just liking one lot of needles, and I'll try the high sharps, thinking they were a bit sharper than the Knit Pros, which they are, to the point where they split my index finger a few times. It's healed up now. I think on Instagram I took a photo of it, and it did split the skin. It did hurt for a few weeks there. It was quite annoying to knit with, but it's all healed up again. Occasionally I do get that. Do you get that? If you sort of knit the English way, I think that's what you call it. And yeah, the pointer, and you like pointy needles, with you pushing your needle back, it splits the pad of your finger, and occasionally, yes, that happens to me. So yeah, these, yeah, I like the high sharps, but I still prefer the Knit Pros, I think, because yes, they're a little bit sharper, but they cause an injury, and they're metal, so they're still a bit stiff, and that's where I haven't liked the metal even in the Knit Pros. Yeah, I like just that slight give. They seem to sort of wrap around your hands a bit better with the Knit Pros. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really happy with those, as we all are when we finish something. They have a little cable. I don't think it might pick it up, just along there, but with the variegation of the yarn through the gusset. Sort of inspired by a Sockmatician free pattern. But not exactly. So yeah, being that I think his pattern's got more stitches, and his didn't go as far as what mine did in the end, because I did have aspirations of doing the cable all the way down, but then I got worried that it was going to sit under, so because it's on the bottom part of your needles, that it was going to sit under your foot slightly and aggravate it that way. So I held back. But that was just something a little bit different than vanilla socks. So yeah, I'm happy that I did have those done. I think I told you everything about them. Yeah, and they will enter, well, they then now can enter in the new sock KAL from the Grocery Girls with the second summer of socks. So they're entered in there, and what else? They were entered in to Give Me a Crown's local knit along, where you had to use locally bought yarn, which I had. And yeah, whatever else? They've gone into Stash Dash with the Knit Girls, and what other knit along have they gone into? And the Bakery Bears summer socks knit along as well. So it has, having a lot of podcasters having knit alongs or craft alongs or whatever you want to call them, alongs, with them liking to knit socks, it has had me knitting more socks this year, which has been good. It's been something that I do, but I have never really obsessed over it. And now, over the last few, since I guess the beginning of the year, or no, late last year, since I started doing a podcast, I've had a pair of socks on the go, which has been good. And then there's some that have been still on the go since that time last year too. So I'm hoping to. I have had them out, which I didn't put it in my. Well, I didn't do too much of it anyway. Anyway, so something else that I have finished is my Head of Food Day cardigan. So you can't really see it. It's not blocked, and this was done in Rowan Cash Cotton. Now let me see where I can find a tag for it. I'm just thinking it is, didn't end up being in that one. It is cotton, cashmere, wool, and something else. I don't think I can find a tag for it. Yep, there we go. Found one. It is 35% cotton, 25% polyamide, 18% angora, 13% viscose, and 9% cashmere. So, beg my pardon, it has no wool in it, which it's nice and soft, and it is quite drapey. I haven't blocked this yet. It's been really cold, and usually when I block something, I will sit it out on the back table. So even though it's on a blocking mat, it still can ventilate underneath, if that makes sense. And well, I feel that it doesn't take as long to dry. But when I washed and laid out flat a couple of woolen things for Scarlett when I was blocking my Waiting for Rain shawl, and one was a 4-ply dress that is now a top. The other one was a cardigan done in a acrylic nylon or baby yarn, and the other one was a 8-ply wool vest of Scarlett's, and they seemed to take forever to dry, and I was drying them in front of the heater for a few days too. So I've avoided blocking this because I knew it was going to take a good week for it to dry, and it's something that I don't think I will wear while it is really cold, only because I don't think it's that kind of thing to wear. It's not warm enough. And yeah, I ended up doing an extra repeat to make it a little bit longer, so it's if you've done the Head of Food Day before, you will know when you are doing the increases around the front that it gets increased every second repeat, if that makes sense. And so I just did one extra repeat, so it has an extra, I guess, inch and a half, 2 inches. From there to there is longer, so it's about 2 inches longer. And yeah, so I'm happy with the length, and hopefully when it blocks it will just drape a little bit more, a little bit longer again. And yeah, hopefully I like it when I block it and go to wear it. Because at the moment it's sort of just layering up too much, and you can't envisage yourself when it starts to warm up again, being that you're layering layer upon layer upon layer of the clothes that you're wearing in winter. So yeah, that yeah, I use 3.5mm needles on that one, and yeah, it once you get into it, it's a pretty easy knit with the little bit of lace in there, and it's quite intuitive of knowing where you need to do the lace, which is really good, so things don't feel so overwhelming. Yeah, so they're my 2 finished objects. What I have in progress, I'll show you the hoe that I've got, the half object. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. I've finished one, and well, okay, the hoe and the whip. The whip that has a hoe. These are monkey socks, and I finished this sock off last night and I grafted it. Kitchener stitched it straight away. So these are done in from YarnAdelaide Oz, which is another local Adelaide indie dye. Melissa, she's a pattern designer as well, and if you're lucky enough to have gone on a knitting cruise that was done earlier in the year, she was she was giving classes on that cruise. This is her, I think she calls it her Aussie sock. It doesn't have a colour name though. It's quite teal and browns. I think the camera's washing it out a little bit. It's tealy blues and a bit of like mossy green with some brown, a couple of different variations of brown in there. Nice variegation. Melissa likes to dye dark, moody colours. And yeah, and I was looking, I didn't have much variegated yarn and I wanted to do some monkey socks. So that's where I finally did them. And they're quite easy to do. Again, quite intuitive with the different rows. I thought you would have to have a row counter with you to count which row you're up to. But it was pretty easy you sort of had a vague memory of what row you were up to, but you could tell with your stitches that you had on the needles what row you were up to. Only I think you end up having to, rows 10 and 11 are plain rows and the first row of the repeat is a plain row, so sometimes you kind of knew not to finish up in those rows, otherwise you would lose count. It'd become a little bit more difficult, but the other rows are a lot easier to get where you're up to. Only thing I do wish though is that I had done an extra repeat in the cuff, in the leg, because these are quite short compared to these ones. And I was thinking about it and going, no, let's just do what the pattern says, trust what the pattern says, and then if you do them again sometime, you know how you would want to change it. So, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. I'm sure you live and learn, and it won't bother me too much. But I really like the colour. I've got her similar purpley version of this too. And that's how much. And of course I started the second sock pretty much straight away last night. And that's where I got up to. Only a few rows in, but they're on the needles. These are the Nirvana needles, the Nirvana 6-inch mango double pointed needles, and they're 2.5 mil needle, or an American 1.5, or US 1.5. They're distributed by the Knitting Zone Incorporated, and they're made in India. As you can see, I don't know whether you can really notice it, but they are quite bendy, and they've already bent. They remind me very much, I'll do the review on it now, they remind me very much of old tortoiseshell needles that you used to pinch from your mum, or that I used to pinch from my mum, and my mum was always, because they were quite antique, vintage-ish needles back then, and my mum loves them. And she used to hate me using them because she was always paranoid that I'd break them, and I did break a couple because they were so bendy and quite flimsy. These don't, and I think the tortoiseshell, being that they're 30-40 years old now, they are flimsy and brittle just due to their age. But these bend, but I think because of the mango wood, that to me sounds like it would. That's if they. It doesn't say that they are mango wood. I'm just assuming that they are, and yeah, and sort of don't know whether they are, but they are a pale. They also come in ebony, but I didn't feel what the ebony was, whether they were just as bendy. These are nice and pointy. These are probably a little bit pointier than your Knit Pros, but I would almost say just as pointy as your higher highs, which is good. We always like a pointy needle, it helps us with our accuracy. And yeah, but they're a little bit different to start with than what I was used to because of the bendiness of them. But you get used to that, and being that I like a little bit of give in my needles, it wasn't unbearable. And yeah, I'm quite happy to have bought them. And I like them that they're something different to use. And you can never have too many needles, and I like the idea of having different types of needles, and especially needles that, you know, all come. I think as long as you like the point that you're knitting with, I think that makes a hell of a lot of difference to how you end up feeling about the needles that you're using. But I also think once you get into, I don't think I'd ever have been knitting with something that would totally annoy me, that I would hate knitting it, because I think I just like, as long as you're knitting, I'm happy. As long as I'm knitting, I'm happy, so it wouldn't matter with what sort of needles I'd be using. But yeah, I like these, and I'm not sure whether they've coloured from the dark yarn. I don't think that they have, but they may have, but then that could just be the colours in the yarn itself, because they are a little bit two-toned, just due to the different, what's the word for it, the different grain, the sort of the variation of the grain. They are nice and smooth too. So yeah, I'm happy with them. I like them. If you're someone that is just metal needles all the way, you won't like them at all. But if you like something that has a bit of give and sort of shapes into your hand, these are for you. Yeah. So yeah, that's my hoe, my whip, and my review all in one. And yeah, strandedinoz.com.au. Oh no, I think she's just .com. strandedinoz.com. I'll put something up down the bottom about them. So yeah, so that's my sock. Those socks that are on the needles, and that's Melissa's Stranded in Oz yarn, all caked up. I thought it was, well, I kept envisaging it that was blue, but it's not blue at all. It's teal, and sort of few tones of teal in there. Okay, what else have I got on the needles? That's that one. And they will go into the Summer Socks, Bakery Bears Summer of Socks KAL. And I think that's all that they're going into. That's something that I started only last week, and it's been what I've been mostly knitting on. I know, yeah, yes and no. I've started to join in the Canadian along, where you need to either use a Canadian yarn, a Canadian pattern, yeah, basically a Canadian yarn or Canadian pattern. I chose to do the Imbue wrap by Lisa Butch, who's MBK. It probably gives you a better. So it's a two-coloured shawl that it has a bit of short row variance to it, and this is how far Come out, come out. How far I've got. Now this wants 630 yards of the main colour, which is I've chosen the grey, and 130 yards of the contrast colour, which is the variegated purple. That's got speckles through it. But I've only got 400 metres of each, which I think equates to around the same in yards. I think it might be slightly less in yards. I don't know. But so I might have to alter it a little, or mix it up so it fits and uses the yarn. The yarn that I'm using is something that I dyed. It is 100% Australian ethical merino 4-ply or fingering that I dyed. I think I showed you guys. I dyed in this one. This is this was a yarn that I was thinking about getting in to start dyeing yarns, but where I got it from, they can't get it anymore, and the supplier hasn't been able to get it anymore. So I have found another ethical merino, which actually I'm getting in Australia, which is even better again, and that should be coming this week. But the colourway, being that it throws, it's a grey, a semi-tonal, you can see there, it's a little bit tonal. I suppose it comes up a bit more tonal on the screen than what it is, but it's probably to me more a semi-solid. It's not as tonal, there's not a great variance in it, in the colour, and it throws blue. So I was thinking, I shall name that colour Stormy Skies. Only because I've been seeing a lot of them of late here in Adelaide, and just the way that it goes from, you know, when the clouds come in and it starts to get dark, it gets dark grey, but there's still that blue tone to it. And I think I shall dye up the new yarn that I get this week in this colour and see how it absorbs it, whether it absorbs it the same. But yeah, I like that. And then this one as well. This was not how I planned. Maybe that's how I should have called it. This is not what I planned. Yeah, because I wanted this to be what did I want? I wanted a variegated grey and red with some speckles of black, and I think a little bit of speckle, kind of speckling the red and the grey as well. But I think there must have been too much movement in the dye bath or in the pot that they all melded into one, and there you can see bits of red and bits of grey, probably not too good on the camera. In real life you can see it a bit better, but it's gone quite mauve and purple and stuff. And yeah, I like it, I really do like it, but I don't know how I would be able to replicate that again. Maybe I should just give it a go and see what happens. But yeah, now the more I keep looking at it, the more variance in colour I do see. It doesn't look, because when I first saw it I thought it was quite muted, and yes, it is muted, but I can still see a lot more variance in colour. I can see reds and I can see purples and I can see greys, specks of grey through there. Not really dark grey to black, but then I do remember not putting a hell of a lot of black in there, because I noticed when I have been dyeing black, the black does suck it up quite well and quite quickly, and yeah, it's quite interesting, the little bits and pieces that I am noticing with my dyeing experiments. So that's that. So that will be entered in the Canadian along. I will enter that in the Grocery Girls Canadian along, the Knitting in Stitches Canadian along. I've just started watching her podcast, and yeah, she's got a couple of young kids. Her son's obsessed with Pokemon as well as my boys are, and yeah, playing Pokemon Go has been fun. yeah, we went and got new phones. Our old phone, or went and got new phones last Sunday. We're due to get new contracts in September. But you find in Australia that if it's only a couple of months out of your contract, sometimes they'll quite happily let you upgrade as long as you stay with them. So, yeah. So we're able to upgrade our phones, and that way it was compatible with Pokemon Go. So it made my 14-year-old's day, and he'd been having a bit of a hard time. Of nobody else's fault but his own, with school reports and attitude and what have you. As I'm sure many of you can understand and all remember what it was like in high school. So we've been out playing Pokemon Go, and it's been a little bit annoying because the weather has been bloody awful. But, you know, it's not bad today, and I think over the weekend it's getting better. So, yeah. What else was I got over? Was it just those two? Those two mostly I was going to enter it into. So, yeah. There's that one. There's that. And as one of my whips, what's my next whip that I've been doing? Okay, my Skype socks. Excuse me. No, it is there. My Skype socks that I'm knitting for the father-in-law for Father's Day in September. I keep thinking it's next month, but it's not. Scarlett's birthday is next month, and then Father's Day is the month after. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So this is how far I've done. So I've turned the heel and, you know, racing to the finish line of sock one. These are quite long. I got a bit carried away. Usually I go for about 6-7 inches, but these are about 8 or 9 inches. But hopefully I have enough. I think I've got another ball of this. Yeah, because I may just need another ball. This is just some Modavira Spotlight sock yarn that I think I got one of the girls from our Friday knitting group at the Teacher Gully Library had a heap of yarn that she didn't want anymore, and we all went hell for leather for it, and I picked up some of this. Or I got it cheap at Spotlight. But yeah, so that's those. And Skype Shop gives them just enough interest. Can you see? Probably not very well. But yeah, they're on 2.25 Knit Pros. Knit Pro Symphonies. And yeah, I've noticed a few of the socks. Usually I'm not too fussed with heels, but I think I like the heel flap and gusset heel, and with the what's it called, the reinforced heel as well, where you slip every second stitch on the second row of your heel flap. So yeah, I'm enjoying that one. The Skype socks are by Adrian Koo. It's a free pattern on Ravelry as well. A few people have been doing that of late. And then that's also I'll tell you about this one first. Silas's gloves I have been knitting as well, and I think I've started shaping for the thumb gusset. So they've been going well. Being that they're black, it's been sometimes a bit hard to find the right time to knit with them, except I can't see them too well. Our lighting, I don't know, our lighting in our lounge room at night is not the brightest, so it can prove to be a little inconsistent. But yeah, I should get back to them. I haven't touched them for a couple of weeks, but they're knit on my Knit Pros Symphonies again, and I think they are on, I think I did them on 2 1/4 and for the cuff, and 3 mil for the hand, where they usually want 2 mils and 2.5 needles. I think I chose those because
My 2.5s were all being used up for socks. And they're done, the yarn is Bendigo Luxury 4-ply in the black. And that's one of my bags I made as well. That's one of my kitty ones of kittens with yarn balls. And then the one that's got the imbue, the imbue in it. Is a bit covered with dog fluff, which I don't know how come she's got all over it, but that's some My Little Ponies, which I thought was quite cute. And with the alpaca badge that I won from the Yarn Woman podcast. And then I will show you, I started knitting a tea cozy, teapot cozy, which I've done one half. I'm just knitting from the Big Book of Small Projects. It's one of the good old Peyton's project pattern book that you can get from Spotlight or Kmart or Big W. And I am doing 4B, you probably can't see it very well, it's basically a garter stitch teapot cozy that ends up getting cinched up the top. Thought I'd do an easy one, a quick and easy one. It hasn't been that quick because I haven't been that religiously knitting it. And there is my little girl. I'll probably have to stop here for a few minutes, guys. I'll get back to you. Okay, I'm back. So, yes, that's my teapot cozy. I've done half. I haven't cast on the other half yet. I'm just doing that one in some Lincraft Cozy Wool in a mauve. And just need a tea cozy, teapot cozy, to keep my pot of tea warm at night. Me and Justin like to have a pot of tea after the kids go to bed. So yeah, what else have I got? Done fingerless gloves, done teapot cozy, 2 lots of socks and shawl. Yep, alright. So I should show you some acquisitions. Okay, so I finally got it's something that I've been gonna do for a while now. I finally got some Circus Tonic handmade yarn from Hannah. Some gorgeous yarn from Indie Dye. I think she is in New South Wales. I got some Jubilee socks. 2 Jubilee socks I got, which is 75 superwash merino, 25 nylon. One I got Diamond Firetail, which I think is a little bit more delicate than the Galar. A little bit more muted than the Galar, which is quite pretty, the pinks and the greys. And the Cockatiel. Cockatiel I really love because my grandfather and my uncle, and my grandfather's passed away now, my pop, he used to breed birds. So being that Hannah likes to, or her current colourways that she's doing, she likes to reference to Australian birds. And the Cockatiel, when I saw it, is with the bits of yellow and the bits of grey and the bits of orange from their cheeks. It's so Cockatiel. And so I had to have it. It's usually not, it's not my colour at all. Well, not something that I would choose, because usually I mostly choose. I choose reds, pinks, purples, greens, and then some greys, and then your more muted tones that go with the brighter colours. And occasionally I pick some blue. But yeah, this, and even the mostly white, like, not mostly white, but the lighter these are really out of my comfort zone. Which is interesting because now I'm starting, being that they are out of my comfort zone, I'm struggling to find what I'm going to do with them. And it's not so much that either, it's because they're precious little balls of fluff that I have to find the perfect project for them now too. So yeah, so I've got 2 skeins of that, and then gorgeous Hannah and her generosity has sent me one of these as well, which is so amazing, of her, what are they called? The Charm the Finches Rainbow MIDI set for me to give away in a future podcast. So I might have to think of something for our next podcast to do, to put this in one of the prize drawers, which I'm so amazed and stoked and blown away that she sent this. And it's quite pretty too. I'd love to win one of these. So I'm going to do the right thing. Yeah, I can so see that all in my Cozy Memories blanket, which I haven't paid any attention to for a couple of months now, which I really should get out and do. I think it might happen this week. Yeah, to give away. They are 7, approximately 18 gram skeins, so well over 100 grams there. For someone to win, throw me some suggestions on a new KAL. I have this, being that I've been doing a lot of shawls lately, and we're sort of, by the time it gets organised, we'll be coming out of winter and heading into spring, and it might also appease to the Northern Hemisphere people as well, that we might do some kind of shawl knit along, maybe, because everybody likes to knit shawls. Maybe I should broaden it to shawls and socks, because surely everybody does one or the other, or both. But yeah, I'm really stoked with that. And then I got, the guild had some sock yarn. Someone had a heap of sock yarn. I think I've mentioned this before, that one of the guild members has a friend that sells sock yarn for a charity, to raise funds for a charity orphanage or something in Africa. And so I had some yarn. Let me have a sip. I just reheated it while I got Scarlet organised. So I got some Peyton's Croy, which I know you can't get here in Australia, so when I saw that on what was for sale, I was like, yes, I'll have that, thank you very much. And haven't experienced that. That's the Jacquards colour. Does it tell you exactly what colour it's called? No, like most sock yarns, it's just got yeah, it's just got a number. It's made in Turkey but packaged in Canada. Maybe I could have used this for the Canada along. I don't think it's probably Canadian enough, to be honest. And then I've got some Regia. And who's that on the front? That is Calf Facet. So it's another one of his Calf Facet's colours. And that will be self-striping. So what was I going to do with that? I was thinking I was going to cast these on, and being that they're 2 balls, and when I don't like cutting yarn unless I have to, unless I know it's a completed project, or and that it's going to get used to the end. You can see with my shawl, I haven't, being that it's got 2 colours, I haven't used, even when I've changed colours, I've just left a long tail before I'm going to cut it. So I know it's going to get to the end. When I'm about to sew in the ends, then I will cut it and then sew in the end. But until then, I will leave it as one, so I don't have to cut it just yet. So going back to the socks, I think I might, being that these are 250 gram balls, these will go into the socks that I will knit with these will be 2 at a time. That's where I'm going. So yeah, so I don't have to cut any more. I do have some 2 at a time socks on the needles at the moment that are on the agenda to finish as the second summer of socks with the grocery girls. That's sort of given me the incentive to get it going, but they still haven't got going yet. My Melisandre socks, the hot pink mess ones that I've showed you on previous podcasts that you probably haven't seen for a few months. I have done a few rows of them. I only did about 5, and so it's really not worth showing you. I will definitely get them back out again next time. But yeah, so they'll be going, probably being that they're both self-striping, they'll probably go some plain vanilla socks 2 at a time. And then I won one of the raffles and got some Alpaca Classic, which I love it. I love it how, you know, alpaca. It says it's alpaca. So yeah, you think, how much alpaca do you think's in it? It's 90% wool, 10% alpaca, but it's Alpaca Classic. It is lovely and soft, and to be honest, it's not that I'm not a huge fan of alpaca, it's something that I go, meh, it's alpaca. I still prefer merino, to be honest. And cashmere I like as well. Angora is, to be honest, and I like the idea, being that I've got rabbits, I like the idea of where Angora comes from, and I did have fantasies for a little while there that when my current rabbits moved over the Rainbow Bridge, I was going to get an Angora bunny so I could shear it, or whatever you want to call it, and use its fleece on my drop spindle and spin it with some probably merino or something like that. And I think that idea has passed. And yeah, I don't think I'll do that because I don't think I like Angora. My head of Fude's got a bit of Angora, and that's where you can see the halo. Can you see a halo through there? So, and I did start knitting a crop cover that Scarlett's out of it, for Scarlett in a nice bright red colour, and that was Angora. And it sheds, and it's very fluffy, lovely and soft, but fluff gets up your nose and it sheds. So when I even was knitting my head of Fude, I was at work when I was knitting it, and I'd have my black work jacket on, and I'd get up and it'd be pink. And so while customers were walking around the shop, I'd be putting sticky tape together and patting myself down like a flint brush to get all the fluff off. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of alpaca. So with the acquisitions, that will move me into the take charge of my stash. So at the end of May, I was 2,510, so 2 kilos, 510 grams of stash out at the end of June. So, I mean at the end of May, so with my head of Fude's 315 grams and my socks are 70 grams. That has brought me up to 2.895 kilos. And then at the end of May, my stash in with incomings, I was 2.3 kilos in, plus my 2 skeins of Circus Tonic and Handmade, and plus my 200 grams, 450 gram balls of sock yarn. That's another 200 grams. So that brings it up to 2.7 kilos. I'm just trying to, while I pause, is like, does the price start as, I don't know, being that it's a prize, is it still stash in? I suppose it is, isn't it? So how many, damn it, curses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 350 grams. So 350 grams of paper makes it 3 kilos and 50 grams. That makes me over. That makes me in a negative now, and that's not nice. Oh. But I want it, and it's still stashed in, isn't it? So I can't get around it, can I? So 3 kilos and 50 grams. So I'm in the minuses now. So that makes me minus 155 grams. That's not nice. 55 grams. Let me write that down so I don't forget. But on a brighter note, let's go into Stash Dash. That looks more successful at the moment now. I'm going to have to be knitting like a crazy woman for the rest of July. And nothing's allowed to come in, and I don't think anything will be, to be honest. So that could be a good thing. But I will, no, yep, no. Just trying to think out loud. Stop rambling. Stash Dash. Okay, Stash Dash so far, I was 1 kilometre, 372 metres and 59 centimetres. So 1.372.59, no, 1,372.59 kilometres. And with the meterage of my head of Fude was 1,134 metres, and my socks were 280 metres. So it brought me up to 2,786.59 metres. So I'm almost at the 3 kilometres. I'm thinking I will probably, when does Stash Dash finish? In August. So I've got, no, September, August? September. September sometime I think it finishes. Should I go for the 5 or should I push it to the 7? Being that this is my first year, maybe I should just do the 5. I think I might just do the 5. But that might change. Because I'm almost at 3 kilometres. And there's a few things that are getting... These socks will be finished soon, so that'll be none. So that will probably take it up to 3 metres. 3 kilometres, I should say. Yeah, we'll see how we go with that. But yeah. So, what else I wanted to show you was fluff. A couple of other things I have been in the dye pot again, and a couple of things I have been dyeing. I dyed up this one. I've got 2 skeins of this. That is on a merino cashmere nylon, a high twist. This is black and tonal grey, and I really like how that finished off. I reskein, and that's why they look quite variegated now. And then I did this one as well. This one I ended up putting it back in the dye pot. I wanted speckle, pink, yellow and blue. But because the blue, because all 3 colours were, I really didn't think it through very well. Because I wanted it to be quite muted and quite pale. But because of the pink, yellow and blue colours that I had done were quite darker, and the way that you speckle it in, it's not going to... Just because you put less in there is not going to make it lighter. because you are concentrating the dye by speckling it into the dye bath with the yarn. It's going to be in those, it's more in the smaller amounts that it's going to be a lot more concentrated, so it came out a lot darker and brighter than what I had wanted. And to me, when I finished it, it was quite messy and wasn't very much what I thought was messy anyway. So I tied it in a couple of knots and then made up a quite diluted solution of the blue and then dunked it back in there. And yeah, so it's got a little bit more blue in there. So yeah, and I only did one skein of that because that was my last skein of the merino cashmere nylon. And then you've seen my browns, and my socks, my sock, and that's my other sock. That's 75/25 merino, superwash merino nylon. Yeah. So, and I've got some more yarn coming this week. I'm kind of getting there, almost getting to the point where I will open up my Etsy shop. I was making, so that's all that I've dyed so far. So I was looking at having a good look at opening an Etsy shop this week, and I've got a heap of stitch markers, and I thought, oh well, I'll just put the stitch markers in there and the progress keepers and see how it goes. But when you can't just open a shop and have nothing in there, you need to open it and then put something in it straight away. So that meant I needed to take photos. So yeah, so what I had, I'll show you what I was going to put in there, which I still will. I've just got to find time and take some photos. I had made these. So I don't know whether you can see. Can you see that very well? It says made with love on there. It's a progress keeper, and then it comes with 10 of the silver jump rings. I suppose you can't see it very well, can you? With the bead. So I've got pink ones there, and then I'm waiting for more lobster claws to come in, and in different colours. And so because I've only got the silver lobster claws, and where I've got gold, I don't think you can, I've got gold of the jump rings with the bead, and then I've got in the bronze as well. Can you see them? Yeah. So when I get the lobster claws that go with, I will be able to make progress creepers to go there. So anyway, I need to take photos. And find more than 5 minutes to be able to do that, which can prove a little challenging. But I did have a sleep session where Scarlett was asleep, and I was able to get my beads out and that sort of thing, and make a few bits and pieces. So it is slowly getting a little bit more, which is good, which progress, but it seems to be taking forever, and I keep going, oh, I still don't have to completely commit to it, but I really want to do it. I think, yeah, I like the dyeing yarn is fun, playing with colour is fun, and I've always liked playing with colour. I thought, even as a kid, I guess that's what what fascinates me with colouring. I do a little bit of colouring in there. That I haven't been able to do that for a few months now. But playing with colours always intrigued me, and putting colours together has always been interesting. So yeah, so that's getting a little bit closer. So, guild news is that we will be at the Sewing and Stitches craft show at Wavell Showgrounds on the weekend. I'll be there on Saturday. Yeah, we'll be there promoting the guild, and there'll be garments for sale. Yeah, that's one of the craft fairs that we're allowed to sell at, which helps to supplement a few of the guild members' income with the few sales, and it was able, you know, to sell their wares. I think that's about it for guild news. I think we've got our AGM coming up soon. There was the Alice Springs Beanie Festival a couple of weeks ago, and that was a raving success, apparently, from what reports I get from my friend that lives up there that's on the committee. I think it was one of their records again, with selling beanies, from what I vaguely remember. So that was good. Good luck to everybody who, I'm jealous, basically. Everybody that's going to be at Bendigo on the weekend, that would be great. I was toying with the idea of going, and then it's this weekend, and I'm just not going to get there. Maybe next year. Maybe I could be selling yarn there next year and selling my bits and pieces. Who knows, in that way I'll be able to sell it to my husband. I'm leaving the family for the weekend and going to sell. Maybe I could take one of my kids with me too. Maybe I'll take my eldest with me, and he can come and help me out over the weekend. It'd be interesting. So yeah, apparently it's going to be very, very cold there, so perfect time to have your Bendigo sweaters, Bendigo jumpers ready out. Finished. I'm sure plenty of you who are going are madly sewing up what they're going to wear over the weekend. So let's do, on that kind of note, let's draw for the knit along, the winter is coming knit along that I had in my podcast group. So I've drawn with the random number generator. I have drawn prizes for the finished object thread and the chatter thread. I had 20 entries in the finished object thread, and the first one that I got was number 14, Dalianza. I hope I've said that right. I really do. I'm shocking at pronunciations. Dalianza. Marie, she's from Galway, so a South Australian viewer, which is great. And she's won the $20 voucher from Knit Spin Weave. Now I know she is a customer of Tracy's, so I'm sure Marie will be super excited that she gets to spend some more money, has to make another trip up and to see Tracy at Knit Spin Weave, which was really, really generous of her to donate a $20 gift voucher to spend in her shop. So you can pick something that you want to buy yourself, which is really, 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 really nice. If you get a chance, guys, go and see Tracy up at Clare at Knit Spin Weave. Even if you go up there for a day trip, I know there has been many that have been making day trips up there, which has been absolutely awesome. So with that, and this, the second prize for the finished object thread is one of my project bags, which is probably about sock size, and that goes to Alpaca Spinner, which was number 8. Alpaca Spinner is Cynthia. She's from South Australia as well. All our winners were from South Australia. So you've won this. You guys can get in contact with me through Ravelry and let me know that you've seen this podcast and that you know you've won, and we'll organise a way for you to get it. And then of course there is the chatter thread. There was 36 entries in that. And the first one that I drew out was number 18. That was Rosie. Rosie from South Australia. Rosie and Rosie, who's her name? She's won the row counter bracelet that I made. So Rosie, get in contact with me and I will arrange to have this posted out to you. Or we could meet up somewhere. Depends on how local you are. And then the last one, which wins some stitch markers that I made, which are green and gold and bronze. That was Jelly Bean. That's Heidi from Adelaide. So that was her entry, was number 4. So yeah, that's Heidi from Adelaide. Jelly Bean, sorry. So yeah, get in contact with me. I'll put the names up on the screen when I'm doing the editing, so what I've said isn't confusing for you guys. So yeah, get in contact with me. My recorder, yes, it's me in the future. No, the battery ran out yesterday and the family got in the way for me to spend that extra couple of minutes just finishing off the video. So anyway, here I am, back, trying to finish off this episode, what are we, 12 podcast, just to say goodbye. Don't forget to, if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. That would be great, or give me a thumbs up, that would be awesome too. Hopefully, I think what I need to do is podcast more regularly, and that way it won't be a long podcast, and that way I can fit it into families. Yes, that should be fun. Yeah, as I can see, it's a day where I'm not been at home with the boys. We've been out Pokemon hunting this morning. So it's just the, you know, rugging up in the tracky dacks and the Ugg boots kind of day. Alrighty, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. See ya.